extraordinary.
All right, as you will have heard, FIFA President Sepp Blatter has quit the post in the wake of the corruption scandal gripping world football's governing body. Joining me now from London is Europe correspondent Melissa Davies. Mel, what has reaction been there? We've known about this for, about an hour and a half now?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, people were just so surprised. This was quite a hastily arranged press conference. And not only was it hastily arranged, but Sepp Blatter was 45 minutes late. So suggesting this was some kind of last-minute decision, or certainly an urgent press conference that was called. Now, UEFA President Michel Platini has said that it must have been a difficult decision for Sepp Blatter, a brave decision, but the right decision. But the person that has been most outspoken on this is the FA chairman, Greg Dyke. He has said that FIFA would never have got sorted while Sepp Blatter remained there, and he said that this must be some kind of smoking gun, because he said it's not Sepp Blatter being honourable. He doesn't believe that. He believes Blatter has never been honourable in the past, so why now? Absolutely.
Let's highlight that. He does not believe this has anything to do with honour from Sepp Blatter. I'm sure he is right. Is there much speculation as to exactly how donkey deep Sepp Blatter must be in some of this corruption?
There has been speculation, but the authorities, and even since this press conference, the Switzerland's Attorney General has come out saying that, look, don't forget Sepp Blatter has not got any charges against him. He has not been arrested. They're not investigating Blatter. But there is, as you say, a lot of speculation around, well, has he seen what's coming? Does he know what's coming, and does he believe that perhaps he's too close, or that maybe he knew about some of this stuff? And that's what people are speculating about as to why he might have decided to step down.
Well, and you know, this is the line that he used a couple of days ago when he said there is a lot more to come out than you have heard so far. There's a lot more bad news, or something like that, he said. Now, he can only know that if he has some involvement in it, because the investigators have said that they, to this point, haven't talked to him.
And it's been 4 days since he was re-elected, but you would think that in those 4 days he is going to be learning more and more, because this was obviously quite a last-minute dawn raid type situation, and you would imagine in these 4 days he has learned more. What he has said on the record, though, as to why he is stepping down is because while FIFA members gave him a mandate, he doesn't believe that the rest of the world supported that mandate. I would have thought, or it seemed to me to be quite clear, that the rest of the world didn't support that mandate 4 days ago. So this is quite interesting.
That's exactly right. I'm sure that would have been clear to him at the time. Thank you very much, Mel. Mel Davies, our Europe correspondent. So what does New Zealand football make of Blatter's announcement? Remember, the New Zealand football CEO, Andy Martin, voted for Blatter's opponent in the recent FIFA presidential election in Zurich. Good for him. He said last night he thought Blatter's days were numbered, and he joins us now. Andy, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time. Turns out you were right. When you said they were numbered, I'm sure you thought he probably had a few more than he ended up having.
I'd love to say I thought it was 24 hours, but no, I think... Look, things were really strange last week in Zurich, and you could sense that there was a huge change in the room. You know, there was clearly a huge need for something different, and there was a hunger there. And I think a third of the people sort of got there very quickly. The rest of the room just weren't quite there, but it was coming. It was always coming.
I mean, it must have been palpable, this feeling. Why was Sepp oblivious to it?
Look, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you tend to get this at times. Like, people seem to believe all the rhetoric around them, and you know the way he sort of accepted the president's election afterwards and was sort of whooping and punching the air was quite surreal. You know, really surreal to see.
And so if we go back to that, because I agree with you, it was surreal. I've seen shots of it. You were there in person. You experienced this extraordinary behaviour, and then just 4 days later, he's resigning. What has happened to change his mind?
Look, there was an incident on stage on Friday that probably went unnoticed, but Michel Platini disappeared off stage at a particular time, and shortly afterwards Prince Ali sort of stood down from the election. Now, it's speculation, but something was clearly happening, and I would suggest that Platini's the sort of the kingmaker here. I think he's the guy who's well regarded. You know, he's got a good reputation as an ex-footballer. He's got a lot of power with UEFA. So I think he's got a big hand in what happens next.
Does Platini have much power with Blatter?
Look, they go back a long way. I think Platini had always said he would never stand against Blatter, so that was the reason why Platini wasn't the candidate this time. But I think he probably will be next
Because
time.
there is a lot of speculation that small cartel of people, if they even exist, that Blatter relies on, may have pulled him aside and said, your time is up.
Yeah, I think that's what's happened.
So that could be Platini, do you think?
I think so. And I think, he has been very vocal as the leader of UEFA, one of the biggest, confederations in the world, that we needed change, we needed reform. They've got all the big clubs, they've got the big players, and they needed a clean, untarnished FIFA, which we just haven't got today.
No, we haven't got it today, and Blatter stepping down doesn't clean FIFA up, because a lot of those people are still in those positions, because we still haven't found out the half of it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, again, the sense last week was there's a lot more to come. The dawn raids on last Wednesday morning, the atmosphere in Zurich was quite surreal.
That is just the beginning, isn't it?
I think so. I think there's more, and gradually over the last few days since we got back, there's been more and more news of suspensions and allegations. So I think this is going to run for quite a period of time.
Talk me through from your point of view. We talked to, the other day, we talked to a journalist who was there at the time who actually took those pictures as the guys were being brought out of the hotel. From your point of view, you must have suspected, as the world has suspected for so long, that there's a little bit of foul play and there's a little bit of corruption. But how much of a shock was it for you to be there when that happened?
Look, it was a huge shock. I mean, the balance that we've had over the last few years is between the good of FIFA and the allegations of FIFA. And I think what everybody's been trying to do is say, look, great things have been happening in football around the world because of the great work FIFA do. And let's not forget, the people who are employed by FIFA are some great, great people. This is those that are sort of elected around the edges. So there's always been, grey clouds.
Well, you're one of those great people, presumably. You're not involved in corruption and scandal, are you?
Absolutely not, but we're not FIFA, so obviously we're slightly separate to that.
But having said that, you're still intimately linked to FIFA.
Yeah, FIFA fund all of the football organisations around the world through development opportunities. So that's clean, that's good, that's positive. It's the bigger sort of payments that have come around the edges.
So for football in New Zealand, for football around the world, does this actually, on the ground, in the game, make any difference at all?
I think the reputation of FIFA will have been changed instantly. I think people have seen we're up for reform, we're serious about it around the world. We're all trying to do our day job with the grassroots, the competition in New Zealand right now, and we want to talk about football, not about the scandals.
Do you think this has tarnished the competition?
I don't think it's touched the competition. I think the competition for New Zealand is fabulous. I think we've got to get behind the team. They need it after what happened last night. So, no, I don't think so.
OK. Andy, thank you very much for coming, and all the best for the rest of the competition. It'd be nice if we could score a goal.
We'll do our best.
CEO New Zealand Football, Andy Martin. Well, for more on the resignation of Sepp Blatter, let's go to the UK, where investigative journalist Andrew Jennings has been waiting for this day for 15 years. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. I mean, that's quite a major intro, waiting for this day for 15 years. You've been investigating FIFA for that long, haven't you?
And indeed, I gave the FBI the documents which have led to last week's arrest and now to forcing Blatter out. So, and I heard that guy from FIFA. There's been no reforms. There aren't going to be any reforms. The gangsters have got Blatter out, but they're going to try and keep control.
OK, let's talk about that.
FIFA's dead. It's a dead corpse. Hearing them tonight on the press conference, well, we're going to have a Congress in 4 months' time, as if everything's all right, Sepp's just a bit tired and old, he's just going to pop along, while his colleagues are being knocked off by the organised crime squad from the FBI. And are we smoking that stuff?
OK, let's talk about Sepp very quickly. He's gone. How far gone is he? Do you imagine?
Hang on, he hasn't gone.
No. Do you imagine that he will end up incarcerated?
No, if you don't want to listen to me, there's no point.
No, I wanted to listen to you, which is why we're paying for the call.
He's sitting there for 4 months, controlling this process. He hasn't gone. He hasn't left the building. He's in the back room controlling how he finds the right replacement. That's why we don't really want anything to do with him. FIFA is a stinking mess. It's not something which is just about to reform itself. Blatter's done nothing for football except let criminals take it over, who are going to end up in New York courts.
Do you imagine, Andrew, that Blatter will end up incarcerated?
Well, we can't speculate because the feds, and I've given the feds enough stuff to get him, but obviously it's what does the Justice Department make of it. I think they're letting him sweat. They don't care about some silly Congress of the people who voted him in last Friday doing it again for sort of son of Blatter. They're interested in arresting people and taking them away and putting them in jail, as they should. And I think world football has to say, if you're from FIFA, kindly leave the room. We're going to ask you nicely the first time, then we're going to throw you out. They have perverted and destroyed the reputation of football.
what the authorities are interested in, of course, is illegal activity, corruption, etc. You said that they will let Blatter sweat it out. Do you get the impression that Blatter really is sweating it out at the moment?
Oh, yeah. Look, he's been a micromanager since he became General Secretary in 1981. He was always been first guy in the office and last one out at night. He knew everything. And this sort of, well, it's the Confederations. They've done it. I'm perfect. It's just all foreigners, far away foreigners. You can't trust foreigners. But I'm wonderful and I've done my best here. This is absurd.
Andrew,
absurd.
Are Blatter's fingerprints on all of these documents, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. He's the micromanager. Nothing happens. Well, you can't go to the lavatory in FIFA House without him knowing. He's that tight. That's how they run these petty dictatorships. That's why he's been able to suppress what he earns. We're still not being told what he's extorted from FIFA. And Mr. Scala making this announcement tonight is the man who knows. So-called independent chairman of the audit committee is not at all independent, and he won't tell us what Blatter's taken out of the game. You can find out what my Prime Minister earns, it's online, and find out what yours is, it's online. And we can't find out Blatter's rackets. It is absurd. We don't need anything more to do. Thank God he's gone, and the cops are still making arrests.
Andrew Jennings, thank you for your good work as an investigative journalist. Take care. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. There's a man who doesn't suffer fools.
Paul Henry.